You're listening to The Photography Pod, a show for both working professionals and enthusiast photographers alike. And here's your hosts, Steve Vaughan and Nick Church.
Nick, you know when the camera manufacturers come out with new firmware like Sony and Fujifilm like they do on a regular basis, do you normally update the firmware straight away or do you hang on a bit?
I hang on a bit, normally for a few years, because I think you'd have to be an idiot to do it just before a pressing need or anything like that. Why do you ask?
Well, you're talking to the idiot in the room there, really. That's exactly what I did before we started recording this podcast, not a camera. So I have a Rodecaster 2, which I use for podcasting, and it said the firmware is due for updating. So I said, yeah, why not? And then I've just spent the last half hour trying to make it work again. It wouldn't come on. It kept saying power supply is the wrong power supply. So if you're listening, dear Rode, sort it out. Yeah, not a good idea.
Does Rode compensate me for my time of just sitting here waiting for you to keep rebooting and that kind of thing?
I look forward to your claim on that. Yeah, good luck on that one. Yeah, multinational Australian company.
Yeah. We're
only kidding, Rode. We love your products. We both use Rode mics and Rode headphones and everything else. If you want to sponsor us, we're very open to doing so as well. So how are things? Yeah, good?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, back refreshed from a holiday, although we did end up trying to buy and sell a house whilst we were away. So that was fun.
As you do when you're on holiday.
But it is easier when you do all that with some free cocktails in your hand on the beach.
Better. Yeah, I think I could cope with that as well. Shall we start the show?
Let's do it.
So again, welcome to the Photography Pod with me, Steve Vaughan.
And me, Nick Church.
So we've both been travelling a lot in the last couple of weeks. So you've been away on holiday. Where did you go?
Went to Antigua, which was beautiful. Yeah, Dawn's family, or her family's from there. Her brother still lives over there, so we caught up with him. And yeah, it was nice. A really, really beautiful place. Yeah.
I'm pretending not to be jealous right now. Yeah, I'm pretending not to be jealous.
Well, I'll tell you the worst bit was the flight coming back, the jet lag direction.
Yeah.
And
it's horrible.
Do you know what? Flights should, I think, if I ran a flight company or airline company, the first thing I'd take off is the reclining seat option, because it's just it's just impacting someone's life behind you. So this girl in front of me came right back, and it's quite small anyway. It's a Virgin Atlantic. I don't mind slagging off Virgin because I don't think they're going to sponsor our podcast.
Funny enough, now.
And it was pretty small anyway. So I seem to have long legs from hip to knee. I'm 6 foot, but just it all seems to be in that thing. Yeah, so my knees were already jammed against the seat in front, and then this girl kept pushing back. So I was pushing forwards, and we ended up in about a 2-hour battle of kind of me pushing forwards, her pushing back. Then her family, then her mum and, I say girl, she was about sort of 20, but her mum, then they both started having a go at me. So it's not quite an air rage incident, but it wouldn't have been far off.
I did the same thing. It's nearly, I can always guarantee, because I'm assuming we're in economy class here, I'm nearly always the first person that has that rammed in front of me. And as you say, we're tall, and you're trying to eat your dinner in about sort of a 3mm space, aren't you, or whatever, and then it's right in front of you, and you try and get up and go to the loo, and you can't maneuver it. I agree. Come the revolution,
you can't even sometimes get the champagne flute to your mouth.
Oh yeah,
it's terrible.
That's the ultimate insult, really, isn't it? Really? I've been on my travels as well, so I've been in the last couple of weeks to both Paris and Amsterdam with my sales training business that I increasingly focus on these days, and that was nice. It was on the Eurostar, actually, I have to say, and then it wasn't business class, but it was like the one up from the sort of standard class. So you do get like a little meal and a drink. It was nice, yeah. I mean, Amsterdam on the Eurostar is 4.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
When you think to fly there is only like an hour, but then you got to drive to the airport, mess about at the airport for a couple of hours, pay a fortune to park the car. It was actually really quite nice because I could sit and work and do stuff on the way. So, and I'm off to Singapore on Sunday, assuming the war doesn't get worse in the Middle East.
What a jet setter!
I know it's my last one though.
We're privileged to be in company of effectively, Elon Musk type character.
Oh, I don't know about that. Yeah, I don't know about that. It's nice when the customer's paying for it. I do have a couple of days to hang out in Chinatown and do a bit of photography as well. So yeah, looking forward to that.
What camera are you taking for that?
That's a really good question. We could do the whole show on that, really. Probably a 7C2, I think.
Yeah.
And the 40mm, and I might go...
Do you mean Sam's A7C?
No, that one's mine. Well, it's
yours,
the business's. Yeah, Sam's is the...
Hers is the Fujifilm.
X100, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just fancy taking the Sony, but probably just the 40mm.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's decent focal length.
Yeah, it's a nice lens, the little stubby G lens. We spoke about those before. They're really nice lenses. But yeah, I think I'll probably go with that. And of course, next time we do the pod, I'll tell you, I probably took a rucksack full of gear, but there we go. So because we've been so busy, dear listener, we were kind of struggling what to do for the show today in terms of how to entertain your ear holes and your eyes if you're watching us as well.
I'm going to do a collection of songs, so that'll be nice for everybody.
So, cue Nick on the guitar.
Requests.
Yeah, special request. Yeah. No, we're not doing that. You'd be pleased to know. What we do is what a lot of people increasingly do these days when they don't know what to do about something or they need an idea. We ask ChatGPT. So, no shame about that. We said, I said to ChatGPT, we host the photography pod. We're looking for a good sort of spiky theme for the podcast. And it came up with 10 controversial photography takes. So that's what we're going to talk about for the next 45 minutes or so.
And we don't mind the environmental impact for using ChatGPT for this.
No,
it is constructive and creative.
Absolutely.
And it isn't us creating caricatures of ourselves.
No.
And other dim-witted things.
Although I've been a caricature all my life, I think. I am a walking caricature.
I have done.
Do you think I really have a mouth this big? No. So we bear no responsibility for these topics, but I think they are interesting topics, Nick, I have to say.
They're a good set of topics. I think they're wide-ranging, and I think if we had completely lied about it and said we'd thought for a few hours about let's get some really good questions together, I think it wouldn't have been far different. It
probably wouldn't today. Yeah, so let's get going. So the first one is, and I really like this one, controversial photography take number 1. Most photographers would improve more by studying art than buying gear. Discussed Mr. Nick Church.
Yes, that's good. A good one. I think I would agree with that. I think because I suppose if you consider an artist, then it's equivalent to saying once you've got your paints and your brushes that you're pretty much all the way there. And in fact, that's not the bit at all, is it? You could use anything to do art with. It's.
I'm sure if you're listening and you're an accomplished artist that use a high quality grade of brushes and paints, you might differ on that.
But what I mean is you can use your fingers, you can use any form of medium to do your art.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it is the most important thing. I think thinking about light and form and structure and composition, all those things, which you can do even without a camera in your hand. You can just be looking as you're walking around thinking, oh, that looks really cool. And those skills then really build up. And that's the thing that when you do get your iPhone out, if it's an iPhone you've got on you, you do start to get much better photos than if you hadn't thought about that and just get your iPhone out and look around to see what to take. It's going to be a bit disappointing.
Interesting. I mean, I was crap at art at school. I still am. I couldn't draw a stick man probably. I'm a scientist. My background, I got into photography for the technical aspect. My wife, Samantha, the other half of Sam and Steve Photography, is an artist. She draws very well. She paints animals and things. Not actually paints the animals. I mean, she paints pictures of animals.
Yeah, because that's frowned upon these days, isn't it? To go
it is really, and holding dash on there where I paint over it, yeah. But she's got far better eye for things than I will ever have. She'll compositionally see things at weddings that I would never see. Sometimes she might get the exposure wrong, but that's fixable.
Yeah. It's something that the sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go on.
The Photographer Unleashed online course has this as its one of its underpinning elements, really, that the thing that makes great photography is all those things. It isn't just kit and getting your exposure settings correct, because those things are really easily fixed because it's just learning stuff and seeing things and thinking like a photographer or an artist is something that's a bit harder to teach. And so that with that course, I do try and do both of those. So you end up with all those technical skills, but also some of the tips and tricks that all us professional photographers use to capture those scenes in photos.
And if you're new to the podcast, by the way, Nick's talking about his academy, which we will say more about during this podcast. It says here as an idea, for instance, you should go to more museums than YouTube. Now, I'm a YouTube addict. I spend way too much time on YouTube, but I think that's a great point, actually. There's Joel Merowitz has got an exhibition coming up in London, which we both said we fancied going to, if we can. But that's a photography museum. Would you ever go to an art museum, Nick? Is that something you'd ever do?
Yeah, I do. Often. Yep. Dawn runs the RWA in Bristol, the Royal West of England Academy. So,
good reason.
Go there quite. I go there often. When we went to London last time, we went to see Don McCullin exhibition. So we always do one photography thing and then one art thing. So that's how we kind of make sure that we're going away to the same place, because otherwise we'd be in different directions all the time. So yeah, and there's a really interesting, excuse me, podcast. What's the other thing? Instagram account. That's it. Where it's called, and I'll have to put in the show notes what it's called, but it's something like Understanding Paintings, and it shows a very famous. It's typically fine art paintings, sort of Italian sort of Renaissance sort of painters. So that realism genre.
Yep.
And it zooms into various different bits as you scroll through the carousel on Instagram and explains what each bit means. And you can really see there's what looks like a nicely painted picture has got real strong story elements behind it, really quite emotionally pulling story elements. And it's a really good way to sort of look at painting and understand a bit more about what's actually going on in it, which is something that I probably need to improve on. And it makes you think, when you look at paintings after seeing this channel, I'm going to start looking for those themes a bit more often, and it's...
That's a great idea. I was frantically Googling while you were talking there, because there was a number of TV series on BBC 2, BBC 4 perhaps, about art history. And I can't remember his name, and again, I put it in the show notes, but he's a professor of art history in the UK. He's got a Hungarian name, like Valdemir, I think, something like that.
Okay.
And he's quite a sort of short, sort of stout guy, should we say, to put it that way. And he kind of waddles around. But the way he presents it, I got absolutely hooked on, the Renaissance, or if you're American, the Renaissance, and him explaining those kind of things. And as I say, I know nothing about art, but having somebody who took the time to explain, what was going on in this painting, the background to it, what was going on at the times, I found fascinating. And I think I could get into art from art history. If that
absolutely. Because it is a bit of it's quite hard to get into, isn't it? It's something that can be a bit impenetrable sometimes, especially more abstract forms of art where it's hard to see what even you're looking at sometimes. And having a bit of direction, especially when it's from someone on Instagram, so you're not having to sort of be patronized by somebody about...
And that thing annoys me sometimes. I'd feel a little bit sort of, I'm not worthy kind of thing. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, totally get that. And it really goes through the scene and what's happening and what's led up to this painting being created. And there's loads more than I considered. I knew they were painting real scenes, but there's little elements like someone in a doorway, and it's, it zooms in on their face and shows that person's really disappointed about what's happening. And then this story builds up around it. Yeah, fascinating. So it will definitely revitalize my view on going to see art and try and look at it in that way, without me having to ask Dawn about it, which she would have, gone through detail about those things. But this I could pretend that I come up with it myself and seem a bit smarter.
As I said, I was in Amsterdam last week, in the hotel I stayed in, right central Amsterdam. The decor was sort of wallpaper, and it was as if somebody had peeled away from the wallpaper, and there was wallpaper behind it, which there wasn't. It's how it was made to look. But the wallpaper behind was of pictures of the Dutch masters.
Okay.
The great artist. Again, I couldn't name half of them really, but I thought it was kind of cool the way it was done, really. So,
well, I think that was my way into art and photography. Really, was going to Amsterdam in the digital TV industry, because there's a big show out there called IBC at the RAI. It's like a photography show sized exhibition, but all of digital TV stuff and mics and cameras and platforms, software, codecs, and all kinds of things.
Sounds great.
And so I would always go to somewhere like the Rijksmuseum to see the Rembrandt pictures. And that has definitely, that was the first time I've been to a gallery on my own. I actually thought, let me go to a gallery and actually look at look at some paintings. And I found it a really emotional thing. And, I was sort of, tearing up looking at some of these Rembrandt paintings, which I still do now. And that has definitely informed and this was before I started photography. That definitely has informed my style of photography, which is quite dark, lots of chiaroscuro, which is the, using sort of little pockets of light in shots and things like that.
Yeah.
The Rembrandt lighting being a good example of that.
Exactly.
And so it's definitely informed that. And without that, I would almost certainly have a very different style, I think, if I'd not had that before I started doing photography. So there's definite benefits to, looking at art and art history. I don't know whether I think that might if I was told that to get into photography and be good at photography, you need to understand art history, I think I might have been more put off by that.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, I think I've come into it that way because I like history. I've always liked history. So the history of what was going on at the time would inspire the art, really. Okay, well, interesting. Let me know what you think about that one, dear listener. But that's got us off to an interesting start. Number 2, again, this is definitely going to be controversial, and I'm not sure either of us are really qualified to answer this one, but we'll give it a go. Street photography has become repetitive.
Well, I'm certainly not qualified to do it, because other than understanding and even teaching to some extent the theories behind street photography and how you can start to, it's not something that I practice often on my own. So I'm far from an expert. So what are they talking about? Somebody walking through out of a shadow with an umbrella.
I think there's a lot of that, isn't there, really? Yeah. So I follow lots of street photographers. I don't claim to be a great one, though I enjoy it. But you do get a lot of, here's a picture of a random person walking through a pool of light under a bridge in London kind of thing. Yeah, it's nice, but is it original? Is it different?
And like anything with photography, just like we've on the previous question that ChatGPT served us up about art, then there has to be some sort of story. There has to be some mood or message being communicated through that. And that's absolutely, if not more so, the case with street photography, that it should be creating humor or irony or pattern or geometric shapes or something like that. And I've done this with classes before. So I've gone to Bristol and done the classic shot of somebody with a red jacket walking past a blue bit of background, like corrugated background, about to go into a red bit, just those contrasting colors. Yeah. But is there much of a story being told there? Possibly not, but it's on the way towards that kind of street photography idea. Just doing that alone, I don't think makes a street photography image particularly engaging.
I put one on my personal Instagram this week, which I think you liked, from a photography in London a couple of years ago, and the murals on the wall, it was an advert, I think, in a store, and it was a couple of larger than life faces looking out, and there was somebody walking in front of them, and it looks like they were looking at the person walking by.
I like that one.
Which was, but it's not original. It's nothing about that that's remotely original at all, really. I think there's two sort of approaches to street photography, really. The one is you walk around a lot, take lots of photos or look for things, and you just get lucky. Something amazing happens in front of you there and then, and you just get the photo. But that's obviously completely out of your control, really, isn't it? Really, that's just and I've spent days walking around London and nothing at all remotely interesting has happened in front of me. Or you see a pool of light, or you see something that's of interest, and you say, right, I'm going to stand here for an hour or whatever, and wait for somebody to walk into that light, or wait for somebody so that magazine is directly above their body, so it looks like their head of the magazine is actually their body. That kind of thing, really. And that's probably easier to do in that you can actually set that up.
Yeah, because it's more precise, isn't it? It's a bit more precise, and it is easy. It's easier to do because if you rattle through 100 photos as that person walks through, you're going to get one where the timing was just right. But the other type that I find very engaging is that almost confrontational style where there's that photographer that's I think it's New York, that just goes right up into people's faces before they've even had a chance to be aware.
Yeah,
and sometimes they're completely out of focus, or someone's out of focus right in the foreground, and they're really engaging, and it's not telling a single story as such, but you can really feel life because it's life being captured before anyone in that scene has had a chance to react in any other way.
Yeah. There is an exhibition on at the Martin Parr Museum, which we ought to both go to, a foundation, in Bristol. Obviously, Martin passed away a couple of weeks ago, but he wasn't, I don't think you called him a street photographer. He was a social observational photographer rather than just a street photographer, but his pictures always had a story. Yeah. There was always a reason for the photo. It wasn't just, here's a cool scene with nice light or whatever. I think also, and forgive me, I have my dear friends at Fujifilm for saying this, but I think there's also a trend that says street photography is a Fujifilm camera with a cool film simulation loaded. That isn't street photography to me. That's just, using camera profiles to make pictures look interesting.
Yeah.
Or look nice colours, shall we say. And I think
that method of taking street photography to show life and almost document history, which is a bit more like Martin Parr's work, isn't it? It's showing a thing. And another person that's brilliant at this is Peter Dench.
Agreed.
And photographing, if the listener's not familiar with Peter Dench's work, go and see it. There's a whole series he's done on the Brits abroad type shots. Right, and resorts like Blackpool and things in the UK, and showing a particular portion of British culture, and it just does it brilliantly. And it's the colours are quite almost slightly faded, so that it feels very nostalgic. And for a lot of us that have been to those places when we were younger, you feel like the photo could have been taken when you were there then. So yeah, I really love his work as well.
Agreed. Yeah, and I think I mentioned before on this podcast, one of my favourite photography books of all time is the Doogie Wallace Hens and Stags in Blackpool, where he spent probably a couple of years hanging around in Blackpool photographing hen nights and stag do's, or bachelor parties for the Americans, which if you want to see the low points of British culture,
welcome to the UK.
That's the book to buy. So don't who are we to say what street photography should be or shouldn't be? And to me, street photography is spending a day walking around, getting some exercise, and if I get some nice pictures, then so be it, really. But I can see the
it's
reason
the process. It is the process. And if you're it's like fishing, isn't it? People enjoy fishing without catching anything because you're being more mindful. You're spending time thinking about, you're not scrolling and things. And street photography, even if you don't get lucky with any scenes particularly, you've spent a few hours looking at light, looking at different angles and scenes and what might happen. And so even without capturing any photos, your skills in those areas have improved.
Super point. All right, number 3. I'm not sure if I understand this actually. Here we go. The best camera might actually be the one you don't think about. In other words, do small cameras often produce better work? Do simple cameras don't? Oh, I see what it means. So basically ones where you don't have to spend half an hour trying to work it out to switch it on and what menus to press.
Yeah, I guess. And you're not fumbling around with lenses maybe.
Possibly.
I mean, the extension of that is presumably an iPhone. Is it saying that an iPhone, if you're not spending any time thinking about it, you can just get out and not think about how to take the picture? Yeah. Is there benefits to that? I don't know. I think I certainly don't think there's any harm in taking photos with an iPhone. And if you're
of course not,
doing street photography and you're finding these moments, then as I think street photography with all the grain, sometimes slightly out of focus, it lends itself to actually not necessarily having the best kit and $2,000 worth of lenses on the end of it. So.
And also not just faffing about, really. I did, when I was walking around, I had a bit of time in Amsterdam for like a couple of hours to kill, and I did have a walk around. I hadn't got a camera with me, but I did get my phone out. And for once, I mean, it's a lovely day today now as well, I should say, but for once the sun was shining and there was some nice light and shadow, and I was playing around with the iPhone, playing around with the exposure slider. But the whole experience is just terrible, really. I just don't enjoy it. I don't know about you. I mean, if I want to take a picture of the grandson quickly, the phone, great. To go out and take some photos on a phone, it's just a horrible experience, really.
Yeah, I think it would, like when in Antigua, I took some photos with my XT5. I also took plenty on the iPhone, but the iPhone ones were very much, well, this is a lovely scene. I've got my camera with me. I just want to remember it. And like I've said before, nice, use the wide angle lens on the phone. It is pretty dramatic, and it does show, it does show that, and they are quite serviceable pictures. Yeah. If I was doing anything more intentional, like going out specifically to take some photos, I definitely wouldn't do that just with the phone, because I know that if I did find something, I'd be a bit disappointed that I didn't have my camera with me.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, I don't know. You see these things on, social media and I guess on Amazon, these sort of grips that make the phone a bit more like a camera. Have you ever used one of those? They give you like a Bluetooth handle and a shutter button.
No.
I can't see the point, really. Leica have made one now, haven't they? Leica and they're selling one, yeah. But I just don't get the point, really.
Yeah, and they do lenses, extra snap-on lenses that will give you a wide angle, and I think they all look pretty terrible.
Yeah, get a camera. Yeah. Okay. Number 4, and I definitely agree with this one. Social media has made photographers less patient.
It's certainly, I would say so as well. I would agree with that.
In what way?
I think the social media has become very immediate, and the quality of an image that you post on social media seems to be less important than it was maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And certainly, we're seeing a lot of reduced traction for just posting photos on social media, full stop. So you do need to have reels and video ideally, and it doesn't really matter whether it's a phone. You see, hundreds of thousands of likes on a reel. It might be really entertaining, but it's just shot on a phone. You can see it's poorly lit. They've not considered anything to do with lighting. They're using the iPhone microphone, even though it's at a distance away, so it's not really clear. No, but that doesn't seem to matter in terms of whether people are going to like it. And ultimately, the people are liking it because Instagram are feeding it to them. So it clearly doesn't make any difference to Instagram's algorithm about who's going to see that post or that.
Who knows how that works, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, Instagram has long since ceased to be a photography, social media. It's social media, and the photography is incidental, really. I was thinking about this morning, actually, when I was thinking about what we're going to do today, really. Where do you put your photos? Where do people who want to show their photos to other people, where do you put them these days? Because Instagram isn't the place anymore.
No, I mean, I see a lot of people using Facebook. Some people still use Flickr, don't they? I mean, Flickr was designed for that.
That's right, yeah.
Even had extra features. They started adding extra features like comments and conversation that could happen around a photo. But I don't know many people that use it regularly. But then I don't know many landscape photographers. We're not in that. I'm not in that kind of community. True. Maybe that is more popular with those. But it's
not that you have to share your photos. I mean, I don't very often post any pictures of mine that I take anywhere when I'm taking pictures. The act of taking photos and the fact that I like a photo is good enough for me. I don't need to get the dopamine hit from somebody I'd never met before liking a picture on social media. But I know a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see why that would be, as an issue. So many people are looking for that instant hit, looking for that extra validation. I've done something right. Are very spiky when they get some negative comments, of course, as well.
And in fairness to Instagram, that is a bit more of a return to type, isn't it? That's how the platform started. I can remember when I first started using Instagram, which would have been 2015 or something like that when I started taking photos. It was much more tricky to upload decent quality images from my DSLR than it is. That it was designed really to just be taking shots with your phone camera, putting a filter on there.
The clues in the name, Insta.
Yeah, you had to go through. I mean, nowadays you can just select your your camera roll. But you still have to upload it to there first, try and find the damn photo, and then post it that way. It was much harder than that originally, and I think they did resist people making it really easy to do that for quite a while before being coming to that. And maybe they're going back to it. Perhaps they're realizing that maybe people should be using Facebook for that. Maybe they want people to use Facebook for that and use Instagram for more immediate,
God knows,
authentic, real moments and footage rather than curated stuff. I don't know.
But don't ask me about TikTok because I'm way too old to think about TikTok. I don't understand TikTok. Are you on TikTok?
I have got an account, but I don't ever use it.
I came off Twitter quite a while ago because it's a cesspool of people shouting at each other.
Agreed. Yeah. I used to use Twitter. For the same way. I used to use it for publishing photos and things like that. And no, I can't. I think the problem with something like Twitter, if you just do that and don't engage anywhere else, no one's going to see your pictures. But as soon as you start to look around for other places to engage, you're in a cesspool again. So it was definite improvement for my mental health to just delete the app.
I must admit, though, I do have Threads, the sort of meta version of sort of Twitter, I suppose, and I do occasionally go in there, and I have to smile at a post that was in there today. So it was a post of, I won't say his name, but let's say quite a young chap who's obviously made a lot of money, I think, in property in Leeds, and it was him and his sidekick had basically paid 150k to rent a private plane to get out of Dubai. And basically the post was saying, this is what money gets you. When you've got money, you can do all these things. And the comments below were just fantastic, I have to say. None of them repeatable on this podcast. Lots of four-letter words, but basically,
well, I had that thing. Did you see, Steve? I do a similar thing on Facebook and look through it. And if there is really horrendous racism or homophobia, I can't not say anything. I feel it's like, I call it out, and I think people should stand. If you're going to say something vile, then you should. If somebody like me is saying, "What's your data for this point that you're making?" And if then that's a reasonable. It's not just slinging. I'm not just being offensive and calling them names. I was asking for some data. That person then went into my business page and gave me a really foul review saying that I'd something.
No way.
Yes, and they'd gone down the line of the classic trope of something to do with Nick Church was horrible man looking at young girls at the wedding all day through the wedding. So they just made up some nonsense thing. And I'm curious, why is it that they always go to that? Is the thing that should be more worrying. That's their first thought about how can I insult this person? I know I'll make some kind of really horrible comment about children.
Have you got it off? Have you got it deleted?
No, Facebook won't ever do that. No. I've reported it. On the plus side, I did put it as a reel on Instagram as well, and it was my best performing post by about 1,000%. So like 37,000 views on it.
You're right, though. I got called a nonce on a Facebook post the other day when it was Aston Villa, sadly my football team. It was a Villa group, and somebody posted this horrendously racist England shirt with Villa badges all over it. I said, I think it's very offensive, and I got called a nonce.
Yeah,
I left the group. It's a vile place, social media. It's a necessary evil, unfortunately, in our line of work, but it really is a vile place.
I mean, this is off topic a bit anyway, but I remember one that my kids used to use a few years ago. I don't even know if it's a thing anymore. Is Be Real? Have you heard of that?
No.
It's a social media. It's like Instagram, as far as I can tell. I didn't ever get an account. The idea is that you have to post the same time every day. So you get like a 2-minute window, and it's all about not creating, it's just you have to take a photo, and you can only use your camera, and it's take a photo about what you're doing today. So where are you? And if you're just sitting having a coffee in front of the TV, that's what you take a picture of. And it's about showing your real life rather. It's just trying to counter this idea of influencers creating and curating their own life to make it out to be something completely different. Yeah. So that was quite interesting, but I don't know if people carry on using it.
My life would be very, very boring if I did that. There'd be lots of very boring photos of me doing very boring things. But
I thought it might be quite good if it made, I was thinking if I did use that and the last 4 days I'd posted me just sitting in front Excel or Lightroom working, it might make me think, do you know what, I'm going to go for a walk today and do something a bit different. So I've got something to do. And it would actually promote us doing something a bit different rather than trying to artificially create this different life that we don't have.
Absolutely. A life that doesn't exist. All right. Number 5. We've had this kind of one similar before, but still a good point. Most photography YouTube channels are about gear because creativity is harder to teach. Yeah, Mr. Nick Church, Photography Academy owner.
Discuss. Yeah. Well, that is basically the reason. The raison d'etre for the Nick Church Creative Academy is that trying to learn photography via YouTube is tough because it's unstructured. You're learning about settings and random things, and that's not the most important thing. It is important, but not as important as all those things I mentioned earlier, like, you know, finding light and how to find a mood and what's the purpose in that photo. And those things are really hard to, and it's hard to teach that when you've got a sea of content anyway, because whose opinion do you listen to? Because it's really hard to know who to listen to. And that's why that Photographer Unleashed course that I've launched is basically combining the technical side of photography and camera selection and lens selection, and also the secrets that we use to create meaningful, communicative photography, which is two separate things. So I hope that continues to be a really crap way for people to learn photography, because then I can keep selling courses.
I guess they're the ones that people watch the most. So our best performing podcast ones are the ones where we've got something geary, like lenses or cameras in the title. They're the ones that people go to the most, because unfortunately that's what people
I think that's, and that's certainly if I had on my motorcycle helmets over there, I had a friend over yesterday. We were trying to work out how to get the comm system connected for three riders. And that's a classic. Just go to YouTube and just find a video where it does it. You know, I think it's a perfect platform for that. And if it was to find the best lens in this budget, or the best 85mm lens, like I watched a great one a few years ago about the best, you know, a review of, I think they had like 10 or 11 85mm lenses for Sony. And they were sort of, you know, doing pros and cons of all of them. And it was fascinating. It was a really good input. But if it was to take an 85mm lens and try and communicate how you use that to create the best photos, that's much more difficult to do.
Yeah, and it probably wouldn't be as popular as a video.
Yeah, ironically, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be.
You're right about it being great for finding out to do things. I fixed my dishwasher the other day with the YouTube channel. Yeah. It is great for that, really. But probably, if I'm being honest, I mean, I follow lots of photographers on YouTube, and we are on YouTube, by the way, dear listener, as well. Although we are somewhat behind with some of the episodes, but we will catch up. But the ones I tend to watch, things, you know, like DP Review as it was, and whatever they call Petapixel guys, they're about gear, really, and the ones I tend to watch, and they're probably the most popular. But it's probably not the best place to learn. Go to Nick Church Creative Academy.
NickChurchCreativeAcademy.com. Yeah, exactly. I noticed today that I had because the photography show is coming up.
I hadn't even thought about it. I mean,
are you going, or will you be away during that?
What, are you going?
I'm doing a couple of talks there.
Well, in that case, you probably are.
I'm definitely going.
What days are you there going? Just so I can make sure I avoid them.
14th and 15th of March.
I get back from Singapore on the 15th, unfortunately, mate. Yeah, but the 16th and 17th I could do. It goes on to Monday, Tuesday, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I might go on Monday.
My two talks are about beginnery type things. So one's about the histogram, bit more of a sort of tongue-in-cheek view of the idea of this is what your histogram should look like. So that's pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
And one on my process for using manual mode for people that have either stuck in at auto or aperture priority and just find it all a bit of a mystery. So it's a process for that. So, but if any listeners are there, then please do come up and say hello. I'd love to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love to meet you. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I won't be there, mate. I'll be in the air. But I'll try and go along on the Monday and not to buy anything, because we're not buying gear anymore, honestly.
There's a rather nice, sorry, I'm blowing my own trumpet a lot here. There's a rather nice article in Digital Camera magazine about Nick Church Creative Academy.
Can you put the link in the show notes?
Yeah.
Okay, send me the link.
So it's in the like a double page article, so it's in the version that's out now.
Well done.
Which will be going through the show as well. I think they're handing it out at the show, so they're basically sort of featuring a few people that are doing talks at the show. So,
famous at last.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, it took me long enough.
Can I get an autograph? Yeah. Right, let's crack on with a few more of these.
Number six.
And I agree with this one. Perfectly sharp photos are often boring. I think photographers obsess way too much about sharpness. Way too much.
Are we talking about lens optics sharpness or
whatever
focus?
Whatever way you want, really. I think, imperfect photos out of focus could be.
I mean, intentionally out of focus. I mean, focus problems with lenses is not good, is it? Full stop. So if you've got a DSLR that's back focusing or something, is not ideal. Unintentionally making things out of focus can be pretty powerful, but quite interesting.
Yeah, like intentional camera movement, things like that, perhaps as well. Yeah.
And is that trend still going on in wedding photography? Would you say the out of focus shots? I mean, it's certainly.
I do it all the time, but not on purpose.
Yeah, that's off your feet. I think if it's an out of focus shot of your feet, it doesn't count.
The photograph I'm best known for, and the one that is behind me on the wall, the three older people at a wedding.
Yeah.
Two grandparents and an aunt just looking bored at a wedding. That's not in focus. It's actually out of focus, but it's the moment that matters.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah. From that side of thing, I think focusing and sharpness, it's important that it looks intentional. So it is, if it looks like they're supposed to be sharp, I think it's fine. You know, if it didn't quite hit, it's fine. If things are intentionally out of focus, and it's not just focusing on one thing and letting other things blur out. There's this genre of the whole thing's out of focus. It's intentionally really soft, like an old, like a manual SLR camera that just hasn't been used properly, and that was popular a few years ago. Certainly,
that's true. Yeah. I think sharpness is overplayed, and I think people obsess about lens sharpness when they're buying lenses. But actually, when you actually come to use it, unless you're going to blow it up the size of a house.
There's that, and the fact that a lot of the sharpest lens are actually sharper than the sensor's going to be able to resolve anyway.
That's a good point.
So it's a bit like the idea that we all buy TVs and platforms that will support 4K delivery of content, and then we sit 6 meters away from the TV, and you might as well be in HD because the resolution in our eyes is at that distance is lower than the TV, so it doesn't make any difference. Which is why when they get you into buy a TV, they stand you right next to it because you can see the blades of grass and all that, and then it doesn't matter after that.
Yeah, I just we mentioned Joel Merowitz earlier, and we do need to go and see that talk. But his famous photo of the fallen man in Paris, which I think is a man having a epileptic seizure, I think in Paris. I just Googled that. And if you look at that, actually, the focusing point actually isn't on the man; it's on the railings in front of the man who's fallen. So what? Yeah. It was a moment, and it's a very famous photo and a very important photo as well. So I think moment to me is the most important thing in the kind of photography we do. The moment and the composition that trumps. I mean, it's got to be remotely in focus. But
yeah, I think there's a point where if it's out of focus enough that it's just not a viable photo. It was just an error, and you've just got to dust yourself off and try it again next time. But
it seems like you ever tried to photograph motor racing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you focus, pardon the pun, if you focus too much on, getting things sharp, it just looks like a car park. It looks like the cars are stationary.
That's right. Yeah. So the that technique of moving your camera, trying to pan at the same time, that can be really good. But that's going to give you like 80% shots that completely out of focus, or certainly with motion blur in, and you get that one that's just right, and then it makes it all worthwhile.
And then you're a famous photographer. Yeah. Okay. 4 left. And I can definitely relate to this one. Photographers often travel too far to take unoriginal photos.
So this is like the Instagram versus reality type posts that you see.
A little bit. It's like, I'm in India, so I'm going to take a photo of the Taj Mahal, the same photo everybody else is taking because I'm in India.
And there's only certain, there's a clear vantage point to take it at, and every photo is going to look basically exactly the same. Yeah, I do agree with that. I mean,
I've done it. Yeah.
There's definitely a case for you can just wander around your local, we've talked about this before, just wander down to a local park or woods or your garden, and you can just find some lovely shots to take. You don't have to travel far at all. There's also a case though where I do feel some people would be possibly better, and it sort of leads into the sharpness. If you are investing thousands into the sharpest possible lens, you may be better off spending a bit of that on a travel budget to go somewhere. If you really are not inspired by the scenes around you, a plane to Iceland's like 60 quid.
Funny enough, it mentions Iceland here. Iceland waterfall syndrome. It talks about it's on the notes here. I know what it means by that. How many photos have you seen of that famous waterfall?
Yeah,
in Iceland. Yeah. But I suppose there is that sort of, I'm going on holiday, I'm going to go and take some photos that get you sort of up for your game kind of thing. Really. Today I'm taking photos. It makes. I think the same. Having said about gear earlier on in this pod, I think getting a new bit of gear sometimes can give you a creative boost as well. Just the fact, I've got something new to try. I'll do something a bit different, and I'll go out and make an effort with it.
But I think those waterfall photos, I mean, they are the same. The Taj Mahal, another example. I think Taj Mahal, to go to India specifically, to go to Delhi to get that would be probably
it's a great curry house. Oh, not that one. No, I get another one.
Yeah, in Bicester, the Taj Mahal in Bicester, High Street. Yeah, but I guess if you did that and then also went around, Delhi or another village and took some street photography or some shots of people and got just a real variety of things, and that's a really valuable trip to do. And if you are doing that, they would probably be the more engaging shots, those other ones of people and life going on. But if you're there, you probably would be mad not to go to Taj Mahal and take a picture of it as well. And everyone has taken, loads of people have taken those photos of waterfalls, including myself, but I've only taken one of it. So I wouldn't go back again and take the same photo, but I really wanted to get those shots when I was starting out. It was sort of almost a bit of a rite of passage to go and take a photo.
Yeah, I guess so. And who are we to criticise what people do anyway? But I can see the point there. This one is a controversial one. Editing has become more important than shooting. I frankly always have hated editing and still hate editing. Yeah. But it's a necessary part of the job.
Yeah, it's very different, I think, from event type photographers than it is for other genres. And I think, well, actually, let's broaden that. Every genre has got its own answer to this question. So something like a landscape photographer is going to be a lot of time editing, because every area of that image is really important. So it's a lot of manual brushing. And that is a very creative thing. It's like painting when you do a photo like that. When you're taking portraits in studio, to get, the background looking right, if you are creating shadows, then the editing process is really important for that as well. When you're doing events and weddings, then it is more of a necessary thing to do to get those images to be how you want them to look like your style. And I think any wedding photographer would probably be lying if they said they really love to sit down and edit 700, 800 wedding photos.
There's a lot of repetition, isn't there? Even with some of the automation and stuff in Lightroom, and even using things like Aftershoot or Imogen or Evoto, these kind of guys, there is still some degree of repetition in it, really, which is what makes it tedious, I think, really.
Yeah, and that's when you're working in a way that you have a quality that your clients are expecting, so you want to get it to that point, but it's not always, you're not spending loads of time on to get on one particular image. There's normally a handful, isn't there? I'm sure everyone's the same. There's a handful of images you do spend a bit longer on to edit.
Yeah, they're the killer ones. Yeah,
they're either the killer ones or ones that just about crept into the set that aren't the best ones, and they might need a bit more.
You give up halfway through and think, "Why am I editing?"
A bit more of a polish, and you're thinking, if I just remove this from the set, is anyone going to notice? Probably not. In which case, it probably is worth removing.
Yeah, just the one of them exchanging rings and things like that. Nothing important.
But I think it is for a lot of genres. It is the other half of the coin of taking a photo is the editing side of it.
I know a lot of people love it, and I can get into it if I need to. If I like you say, I've got 700 wedding photos to do. It's like, okay, I've got to get them done, rather than thinking, woohoo, I've got editing to do. Yeah, but it is part of the job, of course.
I wonder how long one of the best, so the best landscape photographers that I've met is Gianfranco Gola that we had on the pod. And I'd be interested, we should have asked him, how long would he spend editing one of those images?
That's a good question.
It'd be really interesting to see whether it's 5-10 minutes or whether it is, a few hours, hours gone into it.
If you're a landscape photographer listening and you'd like to tell us about your editing process, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I'd be really keen to hear what the balance is between how long you're spending on each photo.
If you are taking 8 hours per photo, they don't expect to do a live demo on the podcast, though.
Yeah.
Not quite that long.
We'll pre-record it and speed it up 100 times.
Played it 10 times speed. Right, 2 left. And this is one I know you're going to not necessarily have an opinion on, because I know you don't do it. Film photography is sometimes nostalgia rather than better photography. You've never took film photos, have you?
Not since I was a child with a compact camera, yeah.
Okay.
So no,
I still do, from time to time. I know, do you know Simon Atkins, the wedding photographer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know he's definitely offering a film package as part of his option. We've got one couple this year, actually, got a wedding at the Bodleian Library in Oxford, and they've asked for some film photography.
Okay.
I'm not sure why, I'll be honest, but they've asked for it, and obviously we'll happily oblige.
I mean, I definitely see it. I mean, I see a couple of people that have been on the pod, friends of the pod, Geraint.
Yeah.
So Geraint Roberts takes film at weddings, as does Jan at Creative Depiction Studio. They do film as well. And I've always got the question that you just asked is, I get it, and I can get how it's fun from the photography aspect, but I wonder why couples want it. But maybe they do. Maybe there's a reason, and maybe the reason is the same reason that I don't do it, because I don't see part of that process as being particularly interesting to me right now. I would like to try it, because I hate to rule anything out that I've never actually tried, and I haven't ever tried sort of taking film. So I would sort of.
I think a lot of the stuff about film photography is the same feel as to why people like me play records still, because it's the experience of putting a record on the turntable, moving the arm across, lowering the cartridge, blowing the dust off, listening to the warp or whatever. It's sort of the process more than the output, really.
But that's a introspective thing, though, isn't it? Isn't it the fact that we like to play vinyl records because we like that process of getting out the sleeve and putting it on and, getting the needle across? If somebody was saying, if you let me play you a song, which is more equivalent to what film photographers are doing if they're shooting film for a wedding, does that person that just wants to hear the song, do they care about whether it's an MP3 or Apple Music stream or a vinyl. I know they do in some cases, because there's loads of fantastic DJs that I've worked with at weddings that do vinyl, and they've been selected specifically for that. So there are people that do want that.
Yeah. So I think let's perhaps differentiate the thing between people who are taking photos for fun and enjoy the process of film photography, perhaps slowing them down a little bit, knowing you've only got 36 rolls on the film, so you can't spray and pray. And let's be honest, film photography now ain't cheap. The cost of a roll of film, cost of DMPs, you're looking at probably 30 quid minimum for the two things.
Right.
Then, as opposed to sort of couples who are or the clients who are looking for film photography, what is it about film photography that they're asking for? Do they think that the output will look significantly different? I'm not sure it will, really.
No, that's the thing that I'd love to hear. If anyone does have opinion on that, we'd love to hear it. Get into the Facebook group, Photography Pod, and let's hear it, because I'd be genuinely interested about what someone that has either hired a photographer for an event or something and would like some film photography, what is it that they're looking to get? Are they looking to get more, I don't know, like Polaroid style photos? Is that what they mean by film photography?
That sort of Instax Polaroid type look. Yeah.
So faded, vintage style, things, which could of course be applied to any photo in Lightroom. You could create a filter to do that quite easily, or a preset to do that.
Yeah. Have you seen that thing that Fujifilm have launched that looks like a Super 8 cine camera?
I haven't seen that one.
Have you not seen it? So it's basically a box on a handle.
Yeah.
And you can put in it, or you do put in it, a Instax paper. So it'll print Instax prints. And you can actually dial the decade that you want the picture to represent. So you can say, I want this picture to look like it was taken in the 1960s. So there's a dial on the side that says, what decade do I want? And then, but it'll also produce video, which looks like Super 8 film. I mean, it's wacky as hell. I'm sure it'll be a great success, particularly in Asia.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've done their market research. They'll know that there's
they will.
Just like they did for the Fuji Half X or whatever it's called. Is it Half X? Yeah, they've done research on it, X Half. And so they know there are markets for these more niche, sort of getting back to basics a little bit.
Don't think I'm going to buy one, put it that way, unless somebody Fujifilm wants to donate one, of course. Right, our final question, and one again you'll definitely relate to as the impresario of the Creative Academy. The most important skill in photography is not technical.
Yes, hard agree. Hard agree with that. I think depends on. So I think it is important. I feel it's important for all photographers to have an understanding of manual mode, their exposure. So the 3 elements of exposure. And I think that's the case for beginners all the way through to professionals. I think that's really important. That doesn't mean that you don't then use aperture priority, shutter priority, manual with auto ISO when it helps you, because if you would rather the camera just did some things for you, but not knowing when it's going to help you, when it's going to bite you, which it is a problem, and aperture priority will bite you in low light. If you don't understand manual mode, you're never going to understand the points where you do need to switch to manual mode, or to do something different in your settings at least. So there are some technical things that I think are important, but the great photos that we see from all photographers over the world of all genres, those it's not really important. So the idea of, this is a great photo, what settings were taken for that, is the wrong question to ask, isn't it? And you see that very often in beginner photography Facebook groups. When there's a nice photo being posted, everyone's desperate to know what settings are so that they can go and reproduce it. But you can't. The settings didn't create that photo. It was the vision, it was the light, and it was what was happening in it in the moment. And that's all the other things that make that different. And I think, as we've said, actually, if it's a little bit overexposed, underexposed, can be easily fixed. Even if it's not quite sharp, that at times doesn't matter as much.
Yeah,
as we think.
Okay, it depends what kind of photography you're doing, really. So if you're a street photographer, patience probably, particularly if you're sort of the type of photographer who likes to stand away for something to happen. The wedding photographer, empathy, I think is important.
Yeah,
being able to have some kind of empathy with the people you're photographing. And I know documentary wedding photographers will shout in the pod right now saying, "Oh, no, I just take pictures," but you've got to have some interpeople skills.
Yeah.
Clearly, nobody wants to be a complete plonker at the wedding. If it's macro type photography, then again, perhaps patience might be important. Ability to understand, timing, when to arrive, those kind of things.
It's a good point. There are loads of areas, even non-related to photography, that are important. So, like you said, understanding wildlife, when they're going to be
exactly
in best to shoot. If you're a landscape photographer, how do you research? How do you use the tools available to you to research the light and the angle of where the sun's going to be? Because if it's not just down the road, you may be booking flights and things to go and get that shot. There's those things. At weddings, you've got empathy, as you said, looking for moments, having that sixth sense for knowing when something's going to happen. It hasn't happened yet. And if you
that's
just wait,
experience as well, though, I think, isn't it? You've
Absolutely.
been in that situation 10 times, 100 times before. Yeah.
There's that. And any kind of documentary photography, including street photography, sort of keeping yourself out of the way and making other people a bit unaware that you're there is a skill that, again, comes with practice. And, certainly that's something that I tend to do when I'm shooting events, is try and keep out of the way where it's important to do so. And
yeah, absolutely.
It's definitely a lot of feedback I get through reviews and things is all about, we didn't see Nick take off these pictures. And as far as I'm concerned, that's a pretty good thing, because
that's a result, isn't it? Yeah. We want people to forget we're even there.
Yeah.
Don't want people to go think, people say those photographers were nice at the wedding. That's nice, but I'd rather people say we don't remember the photographers, frankly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's some reviews that I've had where they said, Nick was fantastic. Really great fun. We had a right laugh, and I tend not to lean into those reviews because it makes it sound like I'm with a twirly bow tie going, like a stand-up comic or a one-man band.
Well, more like you got a Jaeger bomb on the dance floor, partying away.
Yeah.
Not that I've ever done that, of course, dear listener.
But there are photographers that do all those things as well, and they're equally
absolutely
valid, and they're attractive to a complete different sector of the market to someone like you or I, and that's why I think wedding photography, like all genres, has got a market for everybody. That's why it doesn't ever get too crowded, because all we can do is just market to one particular group of people.
Your ideal customer. Your concept of the ideal customer. Yeah. I quite enjoy that. Well, thank you to a certain well-known AI app, and apologies for any greenhouse emissions that did cause for us doing that. It's an important point in all seriousness. But yeah, I quite enjoyed those discussion points. So what are you up to over the next couple of weeks?
I've got a few, weddings are starting again, of course.
Yes, they are, yeah.
I've got some talks coming up at the photography show, and I'm doing some lectures at Boom Satsuma, which is a higher education university and college in Bristol, on photography and film. So I've got that coming up. And then if on shoot wise, I've got a few commercial shoots up in Anglesey that I'm in the planning stages of. And like I said, weddings coming in pretty thick and fast at the back end of March. Yeah,
same here. We start to get really busy towards the end of March as well with our weddings. Obviously got the trip to Singapore coming up, as I say, this week, and a few personal family events things to sort out as well. So we're nice to get back into the saddle of doing weddings again. We've only done one so far this year, but we have.
I suspect,
to do. Yeah.
Sod's law being as it is, that all of those weddings will come in just as we're about to move house, I imagine, because I think that's the way it will probably go. And then, of course, I've got no studio, so I'll be without a proper office space for the foreseeable, because that isn't something that our budget can stretch to straight away. So we'll have to save up before I can.
I'm sure you'll get there. There.
I might be in a little shed. I'll buy a shed. I'll get a little shed from B&Q.
If you see a bloke editing photos in the back of a car, that'll be Nick.
A little shed with a generator outside. Yeah.
So if you've enjoyed this nonsense today, dear listener, then thanks for listening. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to us. Don't forget, if you listen to us on Apple or Spotify, we would love to give you a 5-star review. Just help us in lots of weird and wonderful ways. As Nick mentioned, we do have a podcast photography Facebook group. I just called the Photography Pod, surprisingly. So we would love to hear you there. It's a little bit neglected at the moment. We need to put a bit of work into it, both of us.
Yes, yeah. But then, it's a community, isn't it? It's a community. So we can't take full responsibility. We need everyone to sort of get stuck in as well. I'm being facetious because we haven't had much time.
You're absolutely right.
But do use that it's the best way to get in touch with us, and because it starts conversations. You can get in touch with email as well, but we do really like those things on the Facebook group, because then we can have a bit of discussion about it.
We can indeed. We'll be back again in a couple of weeks' time with another show. In the meantime, happy shooting out there, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you later.
Bye now.